Hi, welcome to Sparey Sessions with the unofficial WoW therapist. The conversation you're about to hear was recorded while streaming, so there may be some interruptions due to engagement with chat. Thanks for listening. Before we begin, please note that today's conversation includes discussions of addiction, military trauma, and suicide. While this episode focuses on resilience, recovery, and hope, some topics may be difficult for some listeners. Please take care of yourself and step away if needed. If you're struggling, please reach out for support. Text or call 988 to get started. We have the illustrious Mr. Sparey, we've got TheNoobishDad, and we've got TouchpadWarrior. So guys, to put you on the spot, I am going to ask that you just give a little bit of an introduction of yourself, and just, what a conversation like this means to you. And if you should so please, your background with World of Warcraft and how the community has kind of changed things for you. So, Mr. Sparey, you are on the top of my screen, so I'm going to start with you first.
Ooh, on the spot. I mean, most of you guys know me, obviously, as Sparey's Hubs. If that's not clear. Which apparently it's not, because we were doing a dungeon once, and someone's like, is this like a father-son thing? Like, Mr. Sparey's the dad? Like, no, that's my wife. And they're like, but yeah, I've been playing WoW for about a year now, I want to say. It's been since sometime last summer. I started on a Feral Druid, one of the hardest classes, I think, to play. And then for Midnight, I switched over to the Demon Hunter, trying out the Devourer, so it's been fun. And as far as the whole mental health thing goes, I think it's definitely, very important for every man, every woman even, but obviously this conversations today is about men in general, but I think it's something that we all struggle with, and it doesn't matter what age. For me, my biggest struggles were when I was young, like teenager age, so yeah, it's very important to talk about.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sparey. Noob, how about you go next?
Hi, my name's TheNoobishDad. I've been playing MMO RPGs for a little over 20 years now. Recently started playing World of Warcraft a little over a year ago. Before that, I played games like RuneScape and other, mostly just RuneScape, if I'm going to be honest with you. Like, that game just consumed me. Ended up going a little dry there. My group Iron Man team quit, so I was like, we'll try World of Warcraft. I ended up starting on Hardcore Classic. That's my first go around, and then the War Within went on sale and kind of gave that a go and really fell in love with retail. I made a Ret Paladin. I'm the guild leader of Noobs Inc. That's really about it.
Thank you. And TouchpadWarrior, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello, my name is TouchpadWarrior. You can call me Will, you can call me Justice. Any of those things work totally fine. Even Ginger Bitch is totally fine as well. That's totally okay. There's no wrong names. I've heard them all. Playing World of Warcraft for about 21 years, so since I was 13, and that's all I've been doing with my life. No, I'm kidding. I was a chef before, in case people didn't know about that, so there's a lot of stresses going on with that whole atmosphere, and food and beverage industry and all that kind of stuff. Those that know, different stresses, different things. And yeah, I play on a touchpad. That's it. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to have you with us, all three of you. I think a lot of what I've noticed about the gap between general mental health care and mental health care specifically for men is that even when you have men that are comfortable talking about things like mental health, vulnerability, feelings, things like that, it's just not necessarily it's not always as helpful, I think, as it can be for women who are co-regulators and things like that. And I'm interested to see kind of what your experiences have been. So now that we know a little bit about you guys, I do want to jump right in to kind of a background of what it's been to grow up in this country, in whatever your family of origin was like. I want to hear about what messages you were hearing about men, about feelings, about mental health. I think all of us kind of grew up in the day and age before we had a lot of like highlights and highlighted conversations in mental health. We've seen a lot of change in this world. I'm interested on what your experience was like. So I am going to kind of round robin this. If you have thoughts on this, I would love for you to jump in. We've got a couple of talkers, you know, I chose you for a reason. So jump in and then we'll just kind of pop around. First thoughts on like what it was to grow up as a man and what messages you heard around what feelings should look like, shouldn't look like, XYZ.
I can jump straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, unless you would like to, Noobish, by all means.
No, go ahead. Send it.
Yep.
My parents had a pretty late, brief history. My mother had me at 40, so
Mm-hmm.
different generational gap going on with that. With such, my grandfather was in the military. He was a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So my father was a military brat. He also echoed those things, how he was raised from 1950 to 1970 with those same traits. But fast forwarding into, 90s, 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things I heard was, if you're going to sulk, go to your room. I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Don't cry. You look like a pansy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
toughen up. All those kinds of things. Always toughen up, toughen up, toughen up, toughen up. With such, that does obviously have a domino effect onto somebody trying to grow up and understand emotions. On the opposite side of the coin, my mother was actually very caring, understanding. She was the typical Canadian kind of like happy, like, oh, it's okay. Sorry. Like, so it was very interesting having both those. So
Yeah.
luckily enough, that did, I feel like, help round me out for like understanding emotions, because my mother was catering towards if I would cry or something would happen, and understanding, able to acknowledge my emotion. Where my father was like the stereotypical standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, I was able to actually curve him to understanding mental health, and he actually even went to go see therapy for the first time when he was 65.
Wow.
So he actually, like, what I learned in that atmosphere, I was able to put back onto him to help his recovery journey happen.
Wow.
That was
very
a hell of a step and very rare.
I was going to say that you don't see that often as somebody in the field. I'm like, wow, somebody that generation and a man like choosing to come to therapy is.
He was like, crap, I have emotions. I was like, yeah, you do.
Insane.
I actually taught him to cry for the first time when he was like 50.
Wow.
That was very interesting
Can
scenario.
you talk to my dad for me?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hey, you got a wife for that. Hold on.
No, seriously. But jumping on that. Oh, go ahead.
That's pretty much it. So like that's the things that I grew up with and how I kind of adapted around.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting because we do have a couple cultural things. As you said, you were Canadian. Mr. Sparey jokingly about like your dad, but like for those of you who don't know, Mr. Sparey's parents were born in Ukraine, and his first three siblings were born in Ukraine as well. Actually, they were born in the USSR before it disbanded. But yes, so like share a little bit about what that was like. I know I'm not trying not to put you on the spot, but like explain a little bit what your household was like, Mr. Sparey, before we move on to Noob.
I think it's very similar in the sense that like men are just sort of taught to not show emotion. We just kind of do our thing and don't complain about it, don't talk about it, don't show, especially negative emotions. I mean, you're just here to, as a man, you're here to provide, and that's it. That's what I hear a lot. Like men just provide, and we just, our opinion doesn't matter. But like the Russian culture in general, I just like they don't smile in pictures. Like my parents' wedding photo is just a bunch of people like stoic face, like zero expression on their
maybe
face.
That's what it is. I just thought I had, CBF. I thought that was the whole thing. I guess maybe I'm Russian.
Yeah, maybe.
It was so funny. I remember seeing those pictures when we were dating, and everybody is just like, and I was like, "What?
This is your wedding?"
What happened?" And he's like, "That was my parents' wedding." And I was like, "Oh
That's
my
a beautiful
gosh."
photo. Look at all this.
He said,
happiest day of my life.
He said they had to learn how to smile in pictures when they moved to America, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy."
literally.
But yeah, I remember once I got my license, my father-in-law said, "Oh, so you work with those crazy people?" And I was like, "Well, Pop, you are those crazy people. So let's talk about that for a second."
Surprise, you're my first client.
Surprise! Oh my gosh. But anyway, yes, moving on. Noob, tell me a little bit about your history and what you had experienced growing up.
So growing up, my parents were separated before I was even born.
Okay.
So we had the split custody kind of thing, and I saw my dad maybe like once or twice a month. So I didn't really have like a big male influence, but it was really pressured me to be the male. Like growing up, it was always like, "Oh, you're the man of the house. You need to look out for your mom. You need to do this," and naturally they had uh, my brothers growing up. So I was the oldest of four brothers. Not really having that male influence was like I felt more comfortable in a Victoria's Secret than I did going into
Mm-hmm.
like a sports store,
Right.
kind of situation, and really just that pressure of like be the man of the house when I didn't know what being a man entailed
Yeah.
really. Like I didn't like what do I do with my hands kind of
Yeah.
situation. Um and it didn't really click to me till I got to like high school, of course, like hormones and everything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, wanting to play like football, and the objective of football is pretty much tear the other guy across from his head off. And I didn't
Yeah.
have that mentality growing up, so I got pounded all the time,
Yeah.
you know. And really just that struggle of like not knowing how to handle certain situations and just kind of going with the flow of mom's different boyfriends and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, trying to figure it out basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's tough because like even here, I mean, this was something that I think deserves a mention. Before we got rolling, Disaster 5 Ever is in chat and he was talking about like the cultural differences. Like I know a lot of like the black and brown communities, they have very similar to like what Mr.
Mhm.
Sparey grew up with, where like mental health doesn't exist. Like it's actually a
Right.
farce, and like you don't have the luxury of thinking about how you feel. And my grandmother was a social worker, and she worked a lot with like refugee communities. And I remember
Mhm.
having conversations with just a couple people that she had been working with, and she said something that like really stuck with me. And I think that this is the way that people view men often, is like, yeah, like isn't it crazy that like they have to put so much energy into surviving that they don't have the luxury to think about how they feel or what's important to them. And I think people often look to men, like Mr. Sperry was saying, about like the providers, or like people like making basically like making the wheels of society turn, so to speak. So
Or being
I'm
a pillar to lean on, right?
yeah, a pillar to lean
A
on,
lot of people use
exactly.
that.
Yeah. So I'm interested, like, when it comes to your idea of like masculinity or like traditional gender roles, like, tell me how that all plays into what you feel you're allowed to feel. Like, do we agree with the way that we have kind of like delegated certain roles to certain people? Obviously, gender roles have been changing quite a lot in the past like decade. But like, how staunch is your own idea of where you fit in society, and how does that impact your own understanding of your mental health and your feelings in general?
Well, the first requirement is having a beard. So as far as masculinity goes, and you can see there's consistency here in this panel.
Yes.
So we all got that checked off. We're
Must
good.
have beard.
Masculinity done. Yep, that's it. Uh, sorry, I just wanted to take that one little tidbit. Somebody else go.
Just trim
No,
that 2 weeks
it's
ago too.
ironic that you kind of bring this up because I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Mm-hmm.
So like 20 years ago, this was like what I do now is would
Unheard of.
frowned upon. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
And really like it was kind of unfortunate how I became a stay-at-home dad. It wasn't by choice; it was because I got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife was like, "Well, I really am tired of being a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I go and do my own thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be home with the kids, and I'll make them breakfast, and I'll take them to the bus, and I'll pick them up, and I'll deal with
Mm-hmm.
all the appointments." Um, that is not for the weak,
Mm-mm.
mind you. For any stay-at-home parent, whether it's mom or dad, it is a hectic day.
Yep.
Like it is a full day.
Yep.
Phone calls and appointments and everything like that. I used to, I jumped out of airplanes for a living, and
Mm-hmm.
I swam in oceans, and I climbed mountains, and I climbed telephone poles.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what, this is way more stressful than put me back in Iraq any day. All right, listen, this is something else. Having to, teachers call you, or other parents call you.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a big like reality check too. And it took me a good while to get adjusted. I've been a stay-at-home dad for a little over 2 years now, and it's still like, what's the insurance login information? I don't know that stuff because like my wife handled that. Like, who's the what doctor do I go to for this? Or what do you mean I have to sit on hold for 45 minutes while I make dinner? And there's a lot of different things. And I always give my wife some crap now. I tell her I'm her assistant because she still gets all the emails forwarded to her, and I have to reply back to her emails for stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely that different. I said I didn't really have a male influence growing up, so I've been kind of just striving to do what the opposite of what my dad did, basically. Like, hey, if he would have done this and I'm doing the opposite, I'm winning today.
Yeah,
like,
I should be all right.
That's a W in my book. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So really just, being more accepted and just trying to live in that 5-foot world and kind of go from there.
Talk about the 5-foot world, because you actually gave me that advice one time when I was going through it, and it has really helped me on hard days. So explain the 5-foot world.
So 5-foot world is something I learned while I was in the military. I was in the Army, and basically the 5-foot world is like, if you can't touch it, don't stress about it. Like, you can't, especially like being in a combat zone, you can't stress about what's going on at home, because your mind has to be on the mission at hand, and it's not just you, it's your battle buddies and the other people around you. So not being able to stress about like, oh, I have this doctor's appointment in 2 weeks, I need to make sure I'm there on time. That's 2 weeks away. Worry about the now and what you can touch. This guy, like, if you can't physically touch it and it's not in the now, like, it's okay, it's gonna be there. It's just one domino at a time. And really, like, if you're not in control of that situation, it's okay to kind of take a step back and realize, like, okay, well, I can kind of put this off to the side and worry about that at a later time. I need to worry about what's going on and what's around me right now.
Yeah, so like time delegation, or like, don't worry about the things you can't control immediately.
Exactly. You can't control that there's a 45-minute wait on when you call your internet service provider. And you're stressed out about that, right? Or you can't control the fact that, like, one of your coworkers called out of work and there's more work for you to do today. It's out of your hands. There's no reason for you to sit there and stress about that, while you can just do what you're supposed to do. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the ways that like anxious brains work is when you get the kind of like the rush of stress hormones, they're looking for something to meddle with. They're looking for a job, and sometimes the job that they want to work on is not right in front of us. So I love that 5-foot world. Sometimes the way that I'll say that is like, you can only, and this is for you, Touchpad, especially since you were a chef, I'm like, you can only cook with the ingredients on the table. So like, if you don't have the ingredients to make a certain meal, you better make a different meal. You just can't.
Sounds like I'm going to the store and we're gonna go pick up the
yeah, exactly. We got to go get the things. So I'm a hobby chef, and I like to make a lot of things, and Mr. Sparey loves what I make, but he's like, dang, every time you get an idea, you get inspiration, it's like $100 at the grocery store, because you need some sort of very specific.
We can just blame that on inflation right now.
Yes, like, exactly. Exactly. It's the market, babe. It's not me.
The other day she said, I need potatoes from Sicily or something.
Cyrus. I was making a Greek meal, and I'm like, I guess we'll just have to do red skinned, because I can't source the ones that are
Listen, these rusted Idaho potatoes are gonna do just fine. All right.
Most potatoes just like waxy or starchy. As long as you got the right one for the right job, you're pretty much fine. Nobody's gonna tell the difference.
It actually works out pretty well.
Sam's Club, I don't think they have Cyrus potatoes.
There's like a blessing and a curse from being a chef, because my lady doesn't cook. I cook, right?
Yep.
Like that. Hey, talking about gender roles.
Hey,
wow.
Here we are.
Yeah,
not the dynamic in this household. And so like, she'll be doom scrolling TikTok, and then I swear her TikTok algorithm knows when she's hungry. So like, her feed will start changing from like humor and D&D to food.
Yes.
And then she'll see something and she looks over at me in bed. I'm like, you want me to make that for you, don't you? She's like, please? I was like, okay. And then so like, that's an $80 grocery visit because we don't have blueberries and
Yes.
that many lemons to make those blueberry lemon bars.
Yep.
So now I have to go to the grocery store and do that.
Yep, now I've got to do all of this. Yeah, and sometimes you just get that random whim and you're just like, oh man, I always make really pretentious food. That's why I'm a hobby chef, because I could not do it for real in the environment. I would love to own a restaurant, but the stress is out of control.
No.
So speak more
I
about
loved it. That's a whole different
I was gonna,
topic.
yeah, tell me more about like how you've noticed the ebb and flow of your stress in different seasons of your life. Like, I am interested in that because there are a lot of people that like find themselves in, in the food industry. That's one of like the things that I have experienced as well. And I think that there's a similarity in gaming that there's like a lot of camaraderie where like you can absolutely berate each other when you're busy or when you're struggling, and then it's all love afterward. And I feel like there's an understanding there. And I think that there's an understanding among men that I've seen figure it out where like, we're just going to sit and we're going to tease each other. But that means like, hey, I love you. And like, I'm here. So like, tell me more about what the crossover's been like for you with that.
So really weird was I joined a hardcore guild when I was like 13, and there was all people that were obviously older than me that were college.
Mm-hmm.
So they were organizing and doing things basically kind of how a kitchen did. It was like,
Okay.
it was that hardcore of doing a raiding atmosphere, but I was 13. I was just getting into the game. I had
Right.
no idea what was going on.
Right.
But luckily enough, they took me under the wing and they taught me those things. So eventually I did end up being a raid leader and all that kind of stuff over those years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how much of that experience carried over into being in a kitchen.
Yeah.
So when I went to culinary school, I was also, surprise, the youngest, at like 18 in that class.
Wow.
And there was people that were ex-military, that were previous like restaurantee owners, all those kinds of things. And I was able to manage my staff, my crew, better than they were. There was like
Wow.
chef meetings being like, I can't get them to do what they're doing. Like they're AWOL and blah, blah. And they're like, Will, do you have problems with this? And I was like, no. And it's because I did delegation. It was because I did everything that I did in World of Warcraft and transferred that into the. So it's like, hey, if you would like to do this certain recipe this day, first come, first serve. You tell me that you want that, you get prio because you want to dedicate time to find out what we're doing the next day. You get first choice.
Mm-hmm.
If whatever you guys don't want to do, I'll do it. I want to make sure you guys are happy. If you need to go for a smoke break, you need to go shit, totally fine. Just let me know so I can cover you afterwards. If you
Right.
can't come up that day, like make sure to communicate that with me. Totally fine. I will never be mad at you for those things. Just communication is key. And so that's how I raised that team around that system, so I didn't have those difficulties.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes into the stress aspect, I thrived off that so
Yeah.
much. I loved it. There's still days where like I sit there and like kind of sad I'm not in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
I remember watching the first episode of The Bear, and my lady, she was trying to sleep, and she heard that, if anybody knows that first episode of The Bear, like the high stress, I almost teared up because I saw that and I missed it. And like she was like, how can you watch this? It's like, this is so stressful. Just her hearing it, I was like,
Yep.
I loved that. That stress kind of built you up to be stronger and an adrenaline rush almost. And so I thrived off it. So I kind of like it when there's too many things kind of in rotation, too many plates. I'm dyslexic. Too many plates spinning at a time.
Yeah.
I thrive for that juggling aspect.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a complication. I just enjoyed it, but I feel like that's something else in my head. So
I think that there is something about, I don't even think that this is specific to men and women. I think that there are certain personalities that they feel more calm in high stress environments because the field of vision gets smaller. I think when you have less that you are responsible for and you just have a lot, like a concentrated amount of stress in one silo of your life, you don't have to think about anything else. I think that's why a lot of people enjoy gaming. They enjoy sports. They enjoy things that challenge them. They enjoy like the mental stimulation because of that very thing. And I think there have been a couple people who I've been speaking to recently that are like, yeah, like I need to do this because if I'm left alone or if I'm left to think too long, then it's just not good. Like my brain has the space to go into the scarier, darker corners of my brain. Have you
like almost if it's too quiet, that's when
Yeah.
it starts to surface. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a same thing in the military. It's a purpose, direction, and motivation. You
Mhm.
isolate all those other outside things so you can focus on the task at hand. And
Yeah.
kind of go forward with the mission.
Yeah, it wasn't worrying about laundry when cooking for 3,000 people. I'll tell you that much.
No,
Five
not
foot
at all.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I think purpose is a very interesting thing that you bring up, because I think that that is something that is something that like everybody needs, is like the purpose and motivation. And there's a lot of people when they feel listless can get into a really dark place. And I think that there's more and more opportunity because it's a different type of survival, right? Like we're not necessarily like working the ground and building communes and like trying to hunt and forage for our food. But now we've got like a lot of access to certain things, but we also have a lot of access to information overload that can be really exhausting. We have sometimes so much access to each other, and it's very easy for like the comparison thing to come in. Actually, I'm interested in that because as a woman and speaking with other women, we deal with a lot of insecurity around comparison, and it's like immediate, like it's so hard to shut down. It actually, we have to like unlearn the comparison reflex, because we're automatically like noticing things about each other. Tell me what men's experience is like with that, because I don't hear men dealing with that as much, and I'm curious to know like if there is something like that for you guys, or if it's just like a non-issue, if you notice different things. Like, tell me more.
I think, and I can't speak for all men, we don't care.
Okay.
I personally live by the aspect of comparison's the thief of happiness.
Oh, it
So
really
like if
is.
you're starting to compare,
Yeah.
then you're just kind of bullying yourself down.
Yes.
Like there's no point in that.
Yes.
A lot of dudes, or at least a lot of my male friends, it's like, hey, are you alive? Sick. Good
Yes.
job. That's pretty much enough of a hand wave and a shake.
Yeah.
Good to go. Maybe you like a beer. You can have two dudes that don't know each other, sit them down with a beer in front of a TV. We're probably satisfied. Not many words will be shared. We're probably okay. And that's it's almost like the silence of suffering. It's just like, I just want to decompress. I just want to relax. Don't worry about anything. In comparisons, it's like the comparisons that would be toxic would be comparison for how you are the supporter provider for your family. So like fathers could end up being like, oh, well, how much do you make? Oh, did you get that raise? And then there's like the bragging aspect that can happen in suburban neighborhoods. So it's like, oh, well, I made 6 figures this month. It's like, how are you doing, Tom? And then that becomes like the toxic trait of doing such. Definitely a scenario that can happen. I don't deal with those people. So like that's not something I worry myself with. They can fuck off. Kind of. Like,
Good
I'm
for
okay
you.
with that.
Love that for you. I'm gonna keep on moving.
Yeah, it's like, you do your thing, Bob. You can go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. So like
the
that's
private
how
equity
I experience
guy.
those. Yeah.
The PE guy on TikTok that does all the private equity skits and gloats about how much money he makes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen
I've
that,
never seen those.
Exactly. No. Oh yeah, it's exactly what Touchpad's talking about. Where the guy's like, "Oh yeah, we stayed in the Hamptons right now for a summer house," and it's like, "Oh yeah, go fuck yourself, buddy. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm here for a good time right now, man."
I grew up around both those aspects. I'm not going to dox myself of where I live.
Sure.
But definitely where we play gunshot or firework is right now, and where I initially grew up until I was 8. And then my father got inheritance to move us into a rich area. So I got to see both aspects, because we're actually like on the in-between line between those two cities. Like we didn't move very far. I enjoyed hanging out with the people in my current area more than I did up there on the hill, because I'd go to a party in my 20s and they'd be like, yeah, like we'll take the yacht out this weekend and we're going to go do this, this, and this. And it was bolstering. It was like bragging on their end. It wasn't like they were bringing it up in casual conversation, because I'm not going to be financially humiliating towards somebody if they're happy about the have a yacht. But also they didn't know exactly who was in the room that they were talking to maybe comprehend that it could come off a certain way. And also they were young. So like, yeah, they're excused. That's fine. I don't hold any grudge towards them. But it was interesting, like seeing and growing up with those two aspects.
Yeah.
Like back and forth.
What have you noticed the same in your lifetime? I mean, first of all, what a beautiful relief that must be to not have it automatically like pop into your brain. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't know what that's like. And I'm thinking about another teaching that I've heard about how men's brains and women's brains are a little bit different. And there is this, man, if I could have anything, tell me if this is true for you. What I've heard is that men compartmentalize naturally and have a nothing box where you can truly just think about nothing. You can turn your brain off and just like not think about anything. And like in my experience, and I don't know if any woman has experienced that bliss, but like we're not able to do that. Like the closest thing to nothing that we feel is like just kind of letting all of the thoughts generally float around our brain. And yeah, so are you able to just like turn your brain off or
Maybe not
no?
like nothing, but more like a daydream. Kind of
Okay.
just vibe out and be like, oh yeah, that one time I went fishing. Like, what if I, or like,
Mm.
what if I'm planning stuff? Like, non-stress environment. Like, I'm not, there's times where I just kind of like, okay, I'm just vibing
Yeah.
right now. Like,
Yeah.
nothing can bother me at the moment.
Okay.
Like, I can shut out and be okay. Um, but yeah, I could probably sit there and just like silence and not say a word and not really stress about things. That's pretty normal, I'd say,
Okay.
for myself.
Mr. Sperry?
Trying to make
Um,
sure everybody's getting some airtime.
yeah. For the nothing boxing, I've heard that too, obviously, but like, I think for me personally, I would have to like intentionally be like, okay, like I need to not think about anything. Like I have to be in a certain setting. Like later today, we might be sitting by a pool.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But like, if that's where I am, I need to intentionally not be worrying about the 100 things on my to-do list and
Mm.
like stressing about all like Noob was saying, like those things are not within 5 feet of me. Like I need to not think about those things and not stress about them, even though, I've already worked 50 hours this week and I could probably put in 10 more hours to maybe try to catch up or like work on the house or, you know, do the
It's
gardening stuff that
there's
we
always
started.
something you could be doing. Why
Mm-hmm.
are you
Yeah,
doing
there's
nothing?
always
Yeah.
like I need to be productive in some way. Like I'm behind. I can't keep up with this and like just that always being in the back of your mind if there's always something that could be done.
Yeah.
Um and like just hanging out by the pool is unproductive and a waste of time. So it's like I think those times are important to actually be like, "Oh yeah, we should do that." Like just turn our brains off
Mm-hmm.
and do nothing for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Normally
even today
those
like yeah.
oh sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, just we got an invitation to the pool, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, my first instinct was like, no, we have too much to do, and then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, I need time by the pool.
Yeah. I need to relax.
Um
Yeah.
the worrying about like things you could be doing,
Mm-hmm.
sadly that's how I fall asleep each night. I don't know why that
Mm.
helps knock me out. Not a clue. I'm like, oh well I have this and this and this and this. I'm like, calm down, hold on.
Yeah.
And in the past, I want to say like 5 years, I've been doing the practice of like, I get caught up in doing something because I am a workaholic. I do like to work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And also because of the field that I am now, because I'm a full time contributor, it's like, yes, I could always be doing something.
Yeah.
It's not just like, there's no clocking in for work and
Mm-hmm.
clocking out where your brain can differentiate, like, work mode is off now and you can relax.
Right.
It's always on. That's
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother problem. So I've tried to practice the past 5 years. Hey, shut up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like I'll just go outside and I'll
Mhm.
just sit there and I'll just look at nature. And as soon as I catch my brain trying to catch something, it's like, well, you should be mowing the lawn right now. It's like, no, just look at the tree. That's a
Mm.
nice tree. Look at
Yeah.
that cloud. That's a nice cloud. And like just trying to actually practice myself to do nothing.
Those are really
I
great.
think
Oh, go ahead.
I think we want to like default to what's familiar to us. So it's like what's
Yes.
familiar to me. It's like what you were saying earlier. I miss the stress of the kitchen. Like that's familiar to you. Like that's where that feels natural to you to be in that environment. And
Mm-hmm.
it almost back to like what Noob was saying earlier about like being home with the kid and like trying to figure out breakfast. Like I relate to that so much. Like that's stressful. Like when baby Sperry was like 6 months old and we were introducing real food to her, I was like, I don't know what the hell to make her.
Yes.
Like and
Here's an
and
omelet.
Sperry's
You
like,
figure it
it's
out.
easy, just cut up an avocado. And I'm like, like okay. And so it's like
Oh, an avocado. Thanks.
yeah, it was so new to me and like so foreign to me to be like taking care of a 6-month-old child. And like I just remember like being so stressed out in the first like year of, well, even before she was born, but like the first year of baby Spray's life, I was like, I don't know how to do any of this. None of this is familiar to me. Like it's stressful, but like I'd rather be stressed out at work
Mm-hmm.
because that kind of stress is different and it's familiar to me. So it's like you're almost like,
It's because you're put in a
I'd
position
rather,
where you at least know what you're doing at work.
Yeah.
And then the
yeah,
uncomfortability, uncertainty is what draws more scare.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
then we end up backing off. Yeah.
Yeah, just recently
Yeah.
we kind of like lost our daycare that we had because our daycare provider ended up getting a different job, and we're like, that's cool, and we're trying to figure out what to do. Do we find somebody else? We ended up settling on, well, Sperry's gonna stay home in the morning. I'm gonna go to work, and then I'm gonna come home from work, and she's gonna go into the office and work a little bit. And I thought that was the best solution, but at the same time, I was so stressed out, thinking like, what am I gonna do with my child for like a few like that doesn't seem
Mm-hmm.
normal to me. Like that's unfamiliar. I'm not necessarily comfortable with that. I mean, like I've learned to, okay, yeah, we can just do this and this, whatever. But yeah, it's just that navigating that unfamiliar territory, I guess, of like, oh, I have to take care of my kid. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Well,
a
you're
weird,
a
funny
man,
thing
so
that.
you're supposed to know how to do that ahead of time before actually doing the task.
Yes.
So like that's your job. You're supposed to know. It's like doing Mythic Plus or doing a raid, right? It's
Yep.
like you were supposed to know before you were here.
Yes.
Not right now. How dare you? The audacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you not know? Well, what you said when you said like the unknown, it kind of like produces like more scare, as you said. I do want to talk about fear and how that like plays into the stress that you feel, because I feel overall that the one of the differences in the stress and the pressures of life is like women are allowed to be afraid and men are not. That is not a true statement from where I'm sitting, but I'm wondering how much that impacted your reality and what you felt was true. Like, do you feel like that is something that maybe contributed to how you processed fear? Because like I'm thinking with like Mr. Sperry, I know that because I'm your wife, I have little insight to your life, and I know that you deal with perfectionism in a lot of ways, and like I think a lot of that is like the fear of not being enough, the fear of like not um hitting the mark or whatever the case may be, like just wanting things to be really good. But I think anger is usually the men's wheelhouse. That's what a lot of men that I have spoken with are comfortable with and are well versed in. I've had men tell me the only emotion I'm familiar with is fear, or is anger. But anger is secondary, and usually there is like fear or sadness or grief or something at the root of that. And so I'm wondering what your own relationship with fear has been, and if you think that there is a little bit of like the connection that I'm drawing. Like, am I right or am I wrong? Because I'm not a man. So tell me from where you're sitting what you think.
As you mentioned, like how there's a root problem, I would say almost instead it's the first step gets skipped. So in having that sadness and that fear, because a lot of us grow up in an atmosphere where you're not taught to have those emotions, you end
Yeah.
up skipping that step, and then it goes into anger.
Okay. Yes.
On my end, and this is shocking as a big red bearded man, I have never thrown a punch at somebody. I've never gotten in a bar fight. I have yelled at two people my entire life, like actually full yelled. The first person was my mother. Whole nother conversation another time.
Wow.
But,
Your kind, sweet, emotionally responsive Canadian mother.
she ended up being bipolar, manic depressive, and alcoholic, and that drew into divorce.
Yeah, take that,
Yeah.
Sperry.
Yeah,
All right,
that'll do
listen.
it.
Oh, no,
That'll do
but I
it.
also understand that, like, who she was,
Yeah.
which this should show that healing process.
Yes.
How I talked about her when I was growing up was different than who she became. So I differentiated who my mother was in raising me to
Yeah.
who she ended up becoming.
Yeah.
Because I can't control who she became, and
Nope.
also that was a mental illness.
Yep, that's
So
true.
like I'm not going to hold that anguish, that hate towards her
Yeah.
for who she was, because she did raise a kind, caring, loving man.
Absolutely.
Who she became, total bitch.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
that's two different people in my head.
Two
There's
things can be
my
true.
mom and there's Sherry. Two different. So I think a lot of men end up skipping the understanding of their emotion, and that's what goes into anger.
Yes.
So it is the root problem, but I think because they don't know how to define it is what ends up going into the anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we don't even recognize that it's happening. Like we don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
Nah, you're just mad. It's like there's no ladder, there's no meter. It's one or the other. Sometimes like there's no build up. It just happens. You know. I can kind of relate to like Touchpad. Growing up, my mom was a drug addict, and she got the OxyContin pen thing was happening in the late 2000s. You know,
Yeah.
and what had happened was that my dad and my brother's dad had like conspired to set up my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know about this till like later in life, just so they could both stop paying child support.
Wow.
And like, so like finding that out later in life, you're like, the first thing I wanted to do was to go kick my dad in the dick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, what kind of person are you to do that? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I was growing up. Also, I was also mad at my mom. So it's like, yo, you're choosing this over me and this over my brother. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? You know. But like now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser,
Mm-hmm.
and can kind of like retain myself a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the loudest voice in a room isn't heard.
Yeah.
And really just having that conversation when I became older and having talking that to her, you know, and just kind of both of us like talking it out and kind of hashing it out, but having a civilized conversation was definitely way more helpful than 16-year-old me
Mm-hmm.
yelling at my mom for sure,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So really just it's hard to like catch yourself when you're mad or when you're angry. And it's really hard to, but you have to kind of, you have to do that sometimes. And really it's better to talk it out than yell about it, in
Mm-hmm.
my perspective. You know, that fear, because fear can easily escalate into anger very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Mr. Sparey, what are your thoughts on that? On the whole fear anger connection and how that plays into the pressure that you feel?
Yeah, I think, you know me, I'll get frustrated about something that seems like nothing, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be like, why am I frustrated, or like why am I lashing out?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to like think back and be like sometimes it is like, hey, I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is like a deeper root emotion like fear or something like that. And I think before I never knew how to deal with that. And you just grow up pushing those emotions down for so long that all you do see is the frustration and anger come out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, of course, being married to a therapist, I've somewhat learned um, how to at least go back and like be introspective and be like, okay, why am I feeling that way?
Mm-hmm.
What caused this? You know what I mean? And then like Noob was saying, like talking about it before it gets to that point of being frustrated, and we're like, as soon as you do feel that feeling of fear or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
um, talking about it first and recognizing it first and dealing with it before it becomes something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, when it comes to like some of the pressures that we've been talking about and all of that stuff, um, I'm wondering, do you think that they're mostly internal or external? Like,
I would say external ends up becoming internal.
yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Okay.
yeah, so like you end up seeing a situation, a problem,
Mm-hmm.
a complication, and then because we don't know how to handle that,
Mm-hmm.
that's what creates the anomaly. It's like if this is the idea or the new thing that's come up as a complication, then it stretches off to being 15 possibilities.
Yeah.
And then trying to prepare or teach yourself as you're trying to understand it, what outcome is more likely? What can I prepare for? What's the best solution I could possibly do for this?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, even though we don't have control over that, it's, oh man, I took the wrong path.
Yeah.
I prepped for the wrong thing. So we end up
Mm.
often bullying ourselves down for not being perfect about that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that I will usually talk, I work mostly with couples, and I try to highlight the feedback loop of like women struggle with the fear of abandonment normally, and then men typically deal with the insecurity of not being enough, like because of the social messages that we've grown up with of like, okay, like I'm supposed to provide. And like I was just talking to another streamer in the community that is navigating a breakup, and like talking about like, look, there's something that happens where women will be sad or will be upset or will be whatever, and their partner will say, oh, if I were enough, I should be able to make this stop for her. I should be able to make the pain go away. I should be able to fix her problem. I should be able to right things. And so you're trying to fix and right her world. And what she's hearing is, I'm only loved if I'm fixed, and he doesn't want to deal with me at my worst. So he's trying to make this convenient, and he's trying to make me fit into more tangible place in his life or whatever. And so this
Like being
feedback
molded.
loop starts. Yes, absolutely. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting just like the interplay of that and how it's like I'm trying to be helpful, and now what many people don't realize is like men are very sensitive to the rejection reflux, and I don't think that always like happens to be highlighted as much, because you're supposed to be tough and brush your shoulders off and try again. And I think even in like the dating culture, like there's this idea that men are just supposed to keep shooting their shot and like not be bothered, and like the whole like men are dogs narrative of like they're just gonna knock on one door, and if that doesn't work they're gonna go on to the next one. But I don't think that that's truly the case of what's happening internally, like if we actually think about it. And so got that dog in him, exactly. So I think that it's something to talk on when it comes to what's actually happening and how you're perceived, because I think at the end of the day it is important that men feel like valued and respected and appreciated. And I don't think that there's always space for that in the societal like narrative that we take part in every day, in the script as it is. What do you think
There's two
are
things.
okay,
I'm
go
sorry.
for it.
There's two things you mentioned that I wanted to brush up on, and
Yeah.
that was one was how like the communication of if I was enough, right?
Mhm.
It's because a lot of men think fix, and so like what's the easiest way to fix? So like it's trying to solve the problem instead of
Mhm.
understanding your partner's problems.
Yeah.
So a lot of that ends up being the scenario on their communication.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, I can fix it. It's fine. Let me just fix it real quick, and then
Mhm.
you're happy now, right? You're happy. Did I do a good job? Did
Yeah.
I?
You want
Um,
results.
Yeah. It's not like I can do the results. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Instead of understanding the emotions.
Yeah.
So it's more so wanting to
Yeah.
be with your partner and understand where they're coming from to help them heal and get through something
Yeah.
instead of bandage fix.
Yes.
In the dating world, I think it's a lot of men will feel like they are like different toys that are sparkly in the aisle. And like so a woman would walk down the aisle thinking which toy that they would like. And so it's always comparison. So it's like, oh well, I need to make sure I'm the strongest one in the room. I need to make sure like I have the nice car. I need to make sure I have the most money made. So that way
The nicest
I
beard.
look, yeah, the
The
nicest,
nicest.
nicest one. My lady carved mine, so like that's all hers. 11 years together now. That was the first thing I asked her. I was like, if there's something I could change about my appearance that would make me seem more attractive, what would that be for you? She was like, I want to date a Viking.
There
I
you
was
go.
like, okay, well, you're a hairstylist, so it's all your job now.
Make it happen.
So that's what I grew in. All because
The
of her.
fact that your
Ah.
partner is a hairstylist makes so much sense to me now.
It's nice hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say your hair and your beard have always been like on point every single video that I
Thank
see.
you.
So
Compliments
it
from the
makes
chef.
sense. Yes.
So I feel like that's how a lot of men end up perceiving themselves for those two aspects.
Yeah.
How to heal that is communication, which ends up being the most common way of healing anything is communication. How bizarre,
How bizarre.
right? As a therapist, you would know how bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of men just don't even know how to communicate. And that sucks because they might have grown up in a toxic masculinity world where, no, you don't talk, right? No, you don't need to talk. Do the job. Nail, hammer, do the
Yes,
job. You don't need
yes.
to speak to me.
Yes. Be productive.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you talk about communication, that's something else that I wanted to talk about was that like it is, I would say, far and above more challenging for men to articulate a feeling word. I've seen this across the board. There's been research about just the way that we're able to connect like our feelings to the words that we're saying. I find that men have more physical awareness of like where they're feeling things. Like I know Abzo's in chat. I'm very, very lucky to have a successful dual relationship with one of my clients, actually, who is very active in our Twitch community, which is not typical. If you want more information on how that works, I do have a video on my TikTok about ethically, like how we make this happen. But often in session, I will say, where are you feeling this in your body? How is this feeling to you? Because that is a lot more within the vernacular of men when it comes to the emotional dialogue, rather than like, oh, like I was feeling, my therapist says that too. What the hell is, I'm telling you what, So it's like, where do you feel this in your body? I think that that is more on the radar rather than all of these like intricate little, like, I feel like there are certain people, if I get a feelings wheel out, then they're gonna like storm out of my office because they're just like, don't show that wicked wheel to me. I don't care about the feelings words. I don't want to do this. The feelings wheel has created more male trauma than most of the things that we've talked about today, I feel. So but yeah, tell me what that has been like. Like, have you had that visceral reaction of like, don't ask me what I'm feeling, don't ask me what my emotions are? Because like, it's almost an irritant when you're trying to get the results, you're trying to do the thing, you're trying to talk about the feelings, you're trying to communicate, but it's like sometimes it's such a like something that's so ambiguous by nature, it's hard to quantify. Like, okay, how am I accurately describing what it is that I'm feeling in a physical way? Like, does that sound familiar to you? Do you have similar frustrations with that? Is it just something that I have missed the mark on? What do you think?
I don't
Yeah, I
personally have
think
those difficulties, so somebody go for it.
Yeah.
yeah, I can't always name my feelings like right away. I have different sighs and grunts. You know what I mean? Like depending on what sound comes out of my body. Like you might be able to recognize like, oh, he's
Yeah.
frustrated. Oh, he's stressed.
Yes.
He's whatever.
That's really
Um,
funny. That's what my dad does.
Yes.
I can tell by the tone. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm like, okay, what's bothering you? Well,
Yep.
what's stressing you?
yeah,
Yes.
my dad used to pick on me all the time because I would just walk into a room and sigh, and he's like, "Well, why are you sighing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what's what feeling I'm feeling right
Yeah.
now and what's causing me to sigh." But it's like as soon as I walked into a room.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I need more time, I think, to process um, what those feelings actually are, and that's why, like, say if you and I were having an argument, I can't have a conversation and communicate that to you right away
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have the words for it yet. I just have, something I feel in my chest, like you were saying. Where is it in your body? Oh, well, I'm feeling something in my chest. I don't know what it is. And
Mm-hmm.
if I try to have a conversation with you right now, I'm in my quote unquote lizard brain and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna have frustration come out or, whatever, anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't know. I don't know if I'm angry. I don't know if I'm upset. I don't know if I'm hungry.
Yes. I think the most successful argument we ever had was, it was like a knockdown drag out. We were like supposed to leave to go drive to see one of my friends, and we were heading out the door and we like stopped because we were arguing so bad, and we sat down at the table and I said all the things that I needed to say, and like he still was just sitting there, and I that's like punishment to me. Silence is like punishment because I'm so anxious to get the conversation resolved. But I said, I recognize that you need time to think about this. So I'm going to go to the bedroom, and when you're ready, and not for anything freaky, because I know we have degens in the chat, but I said, I'm going to go. I was like, I'm just going to give you space. And when you're ready, then you can come and talk to me. And then I will wait until you're ready. And I just like literally went and like texted my friend. I said, hey, by the way, we had to have a fight and we're not coming, but we'll figure it out and it'll be fine. And she's also a social worker, so she totally understood. Uh, but yeah, I was like, that was probably the last time we had a really bad, like harsh, I don't know, like there had been so many arguments before then that were like really incendiary, and that was like the last really bad one because I was like, oh, come on, idiot, he just needs a second to process, and like he's not trying to punish you, he does want to resolve this, he does love you, like just give him a second.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking
very
of
interesting.
pressure too,
Go
like
ahead.
I remember marriage counseling where like,
Mm-hmm.
we did marriage counseling before we got married, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like a prerequisite to like our pastor to
Mm-hmm.
even do the ceremony. Like we have to
He
do
would not
however many
marry
weeks of
us
this. We're gonna
without
cover
doing
these
this.
topics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the things we talked about was like, okay, women communicate like this and they want to talk things out right away. Men usually need more time to figure things out. And there was like this pressure to be like, okay, how much time do you need? 10 minutes, 15?
Mm-hmm.
Like we had to hammer out a time like right then and there. And so then there was this expectation that like, okay, 15 minutes has gone by. You need to be ready to talk about this. And then I
Mm-hmm.
think like early on I realized I'm like 15 minutes still isn't enough for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do need like an hour or two like
Mm-hmm.
to, get out of the house, go for a walk, do something that's not talking about that situation, that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then come back to be like, oh, like this is what was happening. This is why I was feeling that way.
Yeah.
Um but there's like that pressure to like talk it out ASAP, and so then that almost like made it worse, because now I was forced to be in a conversation I wasn't ready for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being in that like that mindset, I feel like it's always like jargled, or in my
Yes.
head, where it's 20 of me's are having a conversation with the one person in front of me, my wife, and they all want me to say something out loud, and it's like gibberish,
Yes.
and it's sometimes of just like stepping away from that situation and processing and just picking out of the 20 voices in your head what you want to say. It's in that time, depending on the situation, it could be a 10-minute situation, it could be a 3-day situation, of just like, because I've been there, I've been married, I've been with my wife for 20 years. We don't have the utmost sunshiny rainbow perfect relationship, just like everyone else, right?
Yeah.
There's ups and downs, of course, and it's hard to like take that step back and be like, I just need to not say anything right now and just kind of process this for a second. And but it does feel like garbled up in my head is the best way I can describe it.
I think what's important though is like, even if you are feeling that way and you need time to process, you eventually do go back and talk about it, because like growing up, my family was like, we would have these crazy feelings, we'd have these fights, and then nobody ever talked about it. We just like went our separate ways. Yeah, like an hour or two later, we're feeling better. We kind of calmed down or whatever, but we never talked about it. And so then, like, just an hour later, you just act like nothing ever happened and everything's fine.
It's more of a vent than a solution.
Yeah. And so then, like,
I hate that
carries
myself,
into the rest of your life. It carries into your marriage or whatever,
Yeah.
other relationships. And so, like, I remember having a hard time, like, with Sparey. Like, I don't know. I'm not used to talking about these things after we have a fight or having that resolution. I'm used to just like 2 hours later pretending like everything's fine, and meanwhile she's like been torturing herself for 2 hours thinking I'm still mad at her, but like I'm not anymore.
Yeah, very interesting. Melissa, my partner, and she's the one that does, we call it the timeout method.
Yes.
Because she learned that from her father, because her father was very aggressive and macho man.
Yes.
So she learned the timeout method. I had to learn the timeout method because of her. Because I was more of the like, okay, let's talk about it. Like, let's go through like what we're thinking and feeling, and that's okay. And she's like, no, I'm just gonna go to this room, and I just need to process. It's like she needed to God damn it, I keep getting the word wrong. Compartmentalize? That's not right.
Compartmentalize.
Putting things. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, dyslexia's a bitch.
Yes.
So I had to learn that method because of being with her. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Everything's jumbled in the head, and like you don't want to say like the wrong thing right away because we're having the conversation right now.
Yeah.
And so now that I understood that, it's like, okay, I can be more understanding about other people that have these solution for this dynamic.
Yeah, and this is not a specifically like men issue, but like the lizard brain that Mr. Sparey was talking about when your like fight or flight is activated. I remember one time when it was another time when I was like giving him space. And do you remember the space when you're like afterwards you were like, the crazy thing about the lizard brain is you can tell when you're in it, but you can't get out of it. He's like I didn't want to be mean to you. I didn't want to be talking to you like that, but I literally couldn't stop myself. Like I could not. Everything that came out of my mouth was just mean. And I was like, it takes reps. Like it really does. And in that moment, it was like, I know that that's not how he feels about me. Like he loves me and he's like still trying to work things out, but he's just like activated right now. He's stressed. So
yeah, I think that's part of why sometimes I need more time, because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you like that. I don't want to be mean to you. But I don't know what else to say right now.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like quiet, and you're like, are you even listening to me? Are you even hearing me? I'm like, yes. Everything that's popping into my head to say is not good. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So I am interested because of, so Wednesday I posted a video about men's mental health and just like talking about how I don't know how to help everybody. But I do know that like sometimes you have to be the person to talk first, or you have to be willing to sit in uncomfortable silence. And it was just really highlighting the gap in men's mental health, and that there's a disproportionate amount of men in the overall suicide statistics. And so one of the themes that I was seeing is that men don't trust that they are actually safe to talk about their feelings. Men say that they need men. They don't need women. They don't need therapy. They don't need any of that. They just need other men. And they don't think that they're taken seriously, or if they share their feelings, that they're going to be weaponized. And I think there's a lot of truth in all of those statements. I think that there is a serious issue because of some of like the social messages that we've grown up with. The individual experience, I think sometimes men just aren't taken seriously. And I think we've talked about some of the challenges of like being able to articulate in the right way what they're feeling. But I do think that men do need guys like to just like Touchpad was talking about. Let's just go have a beer, stare at a TV, and just chill. And that is sometimes more healing than going to an hour of therapy. That's why like there's like golf, like leisure activities. I'm just like, I don't know anybody. I mean, this is unfair. This is my own personal bias because I would never choose to just get up and just like go golfing. But like I think that the men thrive in the social atmospheres where there's some sort of peripheral activity. There's an activity that the focus is primarily going to, and then the socialization is happening secondarily. I think that takes a lot of the pressure off of like having to talk to one another and like having to know what to say and all of that stuff. I think you guys do really good with like a primary objective, and then the socialization comes secondary as like an aside to that. So tell me about like what you've noticed in how loneliness comes into play, or what advice you would have to listeners that feel that way, that feel isolated, that feel like they can't trust people with their feelings, or they don't know where to find people to talk to. Like, I'm a therapist. I obviously know the route to get to me, but like there are a lot of men in this world that are just alone and feeling very skeptical or suspicious of the people around them.
I think a lot of it is we isolate ourselves. That's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't want to be somebody else's burden. I
Yeah.
want to add something else to something. Or I also don't want to, I'm not ready to start or process my emotions
Mm-hmm.
is another like major difficulty. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'll just delay it. It's fine. I don't need to touch that whole bag of worms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not now. Like, maybe tomorrow. We can do it tomorrow. It's fine. Delay, right?
Yeah.
And in the isolation, that's why we end up doing those tasks. Like, hey, let's go shoot pool.
Yeah.
And then maybe after a little liquid courage, oh, hey, you know what? Life sucks right now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, shit, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
talk about it. And like, they feel like they can open up because they have the activity to focus on. And they feel more safe because they're a little relaxed and calmed down. It might
Mhm.
take like an hour into shooting pool,
Sure.
but you might get a word out every once in a while. And that's some way of like tiptoeing or taking baby steps towards that recovery.
Yeah.
So seeking personal experience here. I was diagnosed with PTSD from my time in the service,
Mhm.
and I was getting mental health, and is a psychiatrist or psychologist that prescribes you medication or
Mhm.
whatever. I forget which one
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
They set me up with an appointment to meet with this woman, even though I had a male mental health person kind of
Mhm.
helping me at the time. I hated her
Mm-hmm.
to like I could not get a conversation out because every time I would talk about how I was feeling about something, she would try to relate and interrupt me. I was talking about my time in my deployments, and she would bring up like her son, and it's like, lady, I'm not here to talk about you or your son right now. I'm talking
Right.
about me. To where like guys, I feel like have that personality where we can just like sit back and really bite our tongue and just say like, yeah, dude, like that sucks. And like
Mhm.
that other dude gets it. Like, oh man, he's relating to me on a real level right now. We just said
Yeah.
like the most basic thing.
It's almost
You
just
know?
agreeing was like understanding 50 different terrible things you're dealing with right away. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
You don't got to say a damn thing. I
Yes.
see it in your eyes. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
like it, but like trying to talk to like I find it way easier to talk to men than it is women, especially when it comes to feelings, just because
Mhm.
personal experience. I'm not saying all women do this. A lot of women take things out of context, in my experience,
Mhm.
and they take things to a whole nother level or out left field, and to where men are like, "Yo, wait, what do you mean by that?" You
Mhm.
know, like, and it's just and that's just my personal experience again too. It's just I have a much easier time like just communicating with men. And my biggest advocate for mental health was like myself, really. Like I didn't have anyone for like my like being feeling empty or whatever. Like I had to be my own voice for it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny that you talk about like being interrupted or being like basically somebody trying to relate to you, because like I've even done it to you guys in this session. Like that is such a different part of communication, is like women are natural co-regulators. So I'm like, oh yeah, like let me connect that, like let me show you the evidence of like this time that I remember. But it's so important that we have conversations like this, because if you hadn't said that, like that's such a good reminder to me of like, yeah, like just shut up and let people talk. Like it's so good, and that's what people need more than anything. People don't normally need advice. Like if anything,
No.
advice can be incredibly detrimental to them being able to like build some self-trust and empowerment of like, no, usually people know what they need. They just need a place to dump so that they can like have space to move on and do more. So no, I'm so glad that you said that, because it's important to people that are very well intentioned to know like what helps and what doesn't help. And I wanted to hear more about your experience of that, because you shared that you were willing to be very open and very candid about your own experiences. So this actually, I'm gonna open up the stream on my phone, because I do lots of drinks, small bladder. I want you to give a little bit of a history about your experience in the military, and you were very open with me that you did have suicide attempts, and then you've had this long walk of recovery and what that looks like every day with your family. So if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of a background, I am going to hop up and take this moment, but I'm going to be following you on my mobile while you do. So please share a little bit more about that.
All right, let's travel back through time real quick. So I joined the military in 2009. I joined the Army. Went through, normal basic training at Fort Jackson, went to AIT at Fort Lee. And then when I was in AIT, they're like, hey, who wants to jump out of airplanes and get paid extra $150 a month? I said, yeah, sure, me. So I ended up being stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home to 82nd Airborne Division. Ended up getting to my unit the week of like Christmas of 2010. I'm sorry, 2009. And wasn't able to go home for Christmas because the unit was already on leave at the time. And I was told that we were going to take leave sometime like in February, basically, is when I would be able to go home. And I was, because I hadn't been home in 6+ months yet. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, January in 2010, there was an earthquake in Haiti, and we were the global response force to that. So we had boots on the ground within Haiti and Port-au-Prince within like 18 hours. And gut-wrenching hard truth is I would rather go back to Iraq 10 times over again than go back to Haiti for another 90 days. Haiti sucked ass. Mentally, physically, everything. As soon as I got off the plane, there was this horrible stench. And I asked one of my sergeants, like, yo, what does that smell? And it's like, oh, they're burning bodies over there. And it's like, you look over in the night, you put your night vision on, and it's like, holy shit, like there's this pile of like people, just like their dead bodies just getting burned. And we got off the airplane and we got all our stuff situated. And how Port-au-Prince is set up is like there's a port for like the boats, the airport, and then there's this big field. And we were in this big field with all our staging trucks. And within like maybe like 2 or 3 hours there, a firefight ended up happening with the United Nations and local militia on the other side of the wall. And we weren't allowed to engage at all because we weren't being fired upon. So we had to sit there and kind of watch and hear kind of what was kind of going on without being able to do anything, because we're there as a humanitarian mission, not as a combat mission. So that was kind of like a what the fuck moment for me, for sure. The next morning, we roll out, and our job was to go to basically where the embassy people stayed at and provide security for that. And I remember there was this kid, there was like, Haiti had like no food, no water, no electricity. I was probably there on like day 3 or 4 after the earthquake had happened, and I was in my gun truck, just kind of like sitting on the passenger side with my doors off, so I can like get out easily and accessible. And I threw a kid a bottle of water, and he was probably like between the ages of like 8 and 10. And I watched this kid get pummeled to the ground by grown men for a bottle of water. And I went to go get out of my gun truck to go help that kid, and I got quickly pulled back in, told like, hey, you can't do anything. Like, that's not your fight. And it's like, holy shit. Like, what do you guys mean? Like, we're supposed to help these people, and like this kid's getting pummeled to the ground right now for a bottle of water. Um, that was like my first like maybe 8 hours in country at the time. I just witnessed all of that, so that was pretty intense. Where we got to our OP, by the time we got all our units set up and everything, there was probably about 200 to 300 of us. By day 5 or 6, there was about 5,000 of the populace below us, so we were severely outnumbered, and overwhelmed by the populace, the people just needing like medical attention and food. We were limited to 1 liter of bottle of water a day and 1 MRE a day. It was probably like 60 days in before I actually got like a shower.
Wow.
To be honest with you, it was a pretty rough environment. We never had like a hot meal the whole time I was there. We would, the Navy boats would bring in from via helicopter like water and food and rice. And then they started using transportation trucks as well. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here. Mm-hmm. Before the Navy got there, they were using transportation like moving trucks, like U-Hauls, to transport bodies to locations. They would unload the truck of bodies, rinse it out, load it up with rice and water, and take it off. Like, that's the kind of like conditions that country was in at the time. I was 19 years old, and there was a lady that was on a mountaintop that had a broken leg, who was pregnant. So at 19, I helped a woman give birth as a soldier. I was with the Red Cross. That was something I never expected to happen. Shortly after, because we had to make sure that she was stable enough to move. Shortly after that, we were going to load up in our vehicles, and like a firefight ended up breaking out, and we were having to rush this lady who just had pushed out a baby. And as a freshborn baby, we're running her between moving vehicles to get her to a naval boat so she can seek medical attention.
Wow.
It was a very, very wild time. I will say that like, if you look back at it, like, the news did not cover anything there, just because it was so dangerous. And like I said, I would go back to Iraq like 10 times over again before going back to Haiti, because fast forwarding a little bit now, going to 2011 when I was in Iraq, we had like 4 hot meals a day. We had a movie theater. We had showers. We had a way to like talk to family. We had a mission. But being in Haiti, we didn't really have that. We were just there to help, but no one knew how to help those people. Wow. Essentially. So, and then, so I had Haiti under my belt, and in Iraq, I started off in this it's called Al-Assad Air Base. It's in Iraq. And that place was like the Marriott. Like, it was a massive place, never got mortared, never got attacked. Like I said, had a movie theater, had midnight chow. We had like cold coffee and stuff like that, and hot coffee. And it was it sucked. Like, you're in the desert, like, it's hot. But as we kind of developed into our rotation there, we got told to move to VBC Liberty, which is just right outside Baghdad. And I was part of the advanced party to go, so I was in a Chinook helicopter. For those of you who don't know, that's the helicopter with the blades in the front and the back that you see in the movies. And we're about to land. We get told, like, hey, 1 minute. We're like, okay, cool. Next thing I know, the helicopter is like flying straight and just kind of like veers off sharply, and you just hear the gunners on both sides just unload. And you're like, what the going on, you know? We get to the ground, and as we're getting yelled at, like, move your fucking asses, like, go, 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 go. We're like, where do we go? I don't know where the fuck I'm at. Like, where do you want me to go, bro? And they're like, get to the bunkers. And as we're running, mortars are like hitting where the helicopter was trying to land. We're like, oh shit, this is fucking Baghdad now. Like, we're in the fucking thick of it, boys. Like, holy shit. I get set up in my bunk, you know, a couple hours later, and I'm trying to sleep, and the next thing I know, the C-Ram, which is like a minigun that shoots the mortars out of the sky, is right outside my tent, and no one told me that. So all I hear at like 2 or 3 in the morning, like, scared the living hell out of me.
Yeah.
So go through Iraq, you know, we did our normal missions, stuff like that. Spent Thanksgiving in a bunker, you know, wishing I had my granny's pudding, you know, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Probably 8 months to a year later, sitting at home, where we have this huge training exercise coming up. Like, it's us and this other unit, and I wasn't doing okay. Like, when I drank alcohol, I drank to blackout. Like, I didn't give a shit about like what my chain of command said, or anything like that. Like, when we came back from Iraq, we were doing some PT, and my sergeant goes like, oh, y'all need to drink some more water. I said, the only water I drink is the ice in my cup, like, being a Mr. Cool guy, because I turned 21 in Iraq, so I felt like I was making up for lost time. Right. And you know, but we have this huge training exercise coming up, and wife's like, you know, hey, like, why don't you go have a couple of drinks and unwind before you go to the field for like a week or two? I said, yeah, you know, that sounds great. And a couple drinks turned into like a whole Sailor Jerry's bottle within like 5 hours.
Yeah.
And the emotions just really hit that day. And I tried to kill myself in front of my wife. I just wasn't getting the help that I needed, was kind of hiding how I was feeling, wanted to, you know, be there for my homies and my battle buddies, but really just kind of wasn't right. Like, I didn't really give a shit about like what my sergeant said. I didn't give a shit about showing up to work on time. I would show up to work drunk. I would drink during duty. So my wife, instead of calling the police, my wife called my friends, my battle buddies, and they're like, we can, you know, he can go crash at my place and he can sleep this off. And one of my buddies is like, nah, he needs help. Like, this isn't Jake. Like, he needs help. And so they took me to my chain of command. They took me to the hospital. I get detoxed, and you know, get on suicide watch. And for anyone who's been in the military, suicide watch is really, really bad. Like, so we had this field training exercise, mind you, that I still had to be a part of, but wasn't allowed to carry a weapon, wasn't allowed to hold a knife, wasn't allowed to jump into the exercise. So being a paratrooper and being told that you're not allowed to jump is like telling a paladin not to be able to use Divine Storm. Like, it was just, you know, really, not a good feeling, right? And you have to have somebody with you at all times. But through all of that being on suicide watch, I never actually got mental help. They sent me to like the Army substance abuse program. And so it was like alcohol, substance abuse and things like that. But I never really got mental help till like a couple months later, till I was filling out like a survey. It was probably my 1 year checkup after my deployment, and it was like, in the past 30 days, have you tried to kill yourself? And it's like, oh fuck, like, I gotta check yes here, you know. And you know, so I pull the PA aside. I'm like, hey, you know, I just wanted to let you know I had to check yes here for my incident that I had. And he was like, what incident? And I was like, oh, Great. So I gotta spill this whole story out now. Um, and but again, he sat down with me, and he made sure I got some help, and we were kind of going through the things, and he was like, do you want to kill yourself? I was like, at the time I did, you know. But I'll be honest with you, when I went in the hospital, there was this like either Delta Force or Special Forces medic that was on duty there. He had a beard, but I could tell his ID card was military, but he had it flipped backwards because there's like a civilian cat card and a military cat card, but they're pretty different. And this is gonna sound pretty rough and abrasive, but as I'm sitting there like IV trying to sober up, he kind of comes in and he was like, "Hey, look, man, I'm not here to judge you. I've been in your shoes. I know how you feel, but I'm just here to talk to you real quick." I was like, "Okay, what's up, man?" And he was just like, "Are you married?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm married." Like, "You got kids?" I was like, "Yeah, I got kids." And he's like, "Do you want another man raising your kids besides you?" I was like, "No." "What?" And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you want another guy fucking your wife?" He said it just like that. And I was just like, "Fuck no." Like, what do you mean? He's like, "Then don't let it happen." I was like, "Okay, damn." Like, all right, I got you, and that was really like the wake up call to like, he's like, "Go get help." Like, I know it sucks, like what you've experienced sucks, but like killing yourself doesn't fix that issue. It just creates more issues. And I was just like, damn, all right, and been kind of my own mental health advocate since that conversation in that hospital, to be honest with you. Definitely was an eye-opener for sure. And I just kind of have that mindset if I ever feel down now, to be honest with you. Like, I know it's pretty rough to think of that, but when you're like when you're 18 or when you're 21, and you think you know everything and you don't. And you think you're immune to everything and you're not. You think you're the strongest and you're not, so really just kind of go back to that and really think like that mindset, like, no, I don't want another guy raising my kids. No, I don't want my wife sleeping with another man. Like, let's talk to somebody. Let's figure this out. Let's go for a walk. Let's listen to some music. I like to build Gundams and listen to lo-fi music now. That is like my zen, playing video games and things like that. And really, like, just like on my journey with like PTSD and things like that, it's really just kind of I'm sitting here and I'm literally petting a rock this whole stream talking about this, and it's just that's what I'm doing. I don't really drink, but like socially, and it's like one or two drinks at the time now. I've learned to kind of what messes with me and what doesn't mess with me. As far as like red flags go, I should have known there was a red flag when there was a time where I was home between Haiti and Iraq. I was home on leave, and I live in Southwest Florida. And Southwest Florida has a big Haitian population. And I was at the mall and somebody was speaking Creole, which is their language. And like the next thing I know, like I was on that mountaintop and I could like feel the breeze on my face and I could smell the ocean and I could feel the weight from my chest rig and my weapon, and I could feel sweaty, but I was like in the mall. Like I was just like in civilian clothes, and it just happened for like a split second or two. And I was like, oh God, that was like a weird feeling, like, but I didn't mention it to anybody. And my second red flag would be like my first night when I came home from Iraq. I was stepped outside to have a cigarette and have a drink with my wife, and someone started up their motorcycle. And when that motorcycle started, it popped. I was on the ground, like in the ground, like I was face dirt, like what's going on? Where are we at? And my wife's just kind of staring at me. I was like, I was just getting mortared like a week ago. That's no big deal,
Right.
like just kind of brushed it off. Like that's just they talk about like the adjustment period, right? So I was like, it's just an adjustment period. That adjustment period just never faded for me for a while. So but I am doing a lot better. I don't think about killing myself every day.
Yeah.
I did seek mental health. I
Yes.
was on medication for a little bit. Um, if you're, I wouldn't be opposed to people trying medication for sure. If that works for you, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I'm on the fence about it. I
Mm-hmm.
think some of my best content was when I was on medication, to be honest with you. But like in the same time, like there's also there's withdrawals that you have from it.
Mm-hmm.
For men with SSRIs, it's really hard for them to function
Yes.
sexually.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
you know, when a guy can't cross the finish line, keeping this as
Yep.
filtered as process, you know,
No,
that
but
kind
that's
of messes
real.
with your, so, you know, it can kind of mess with your partner's mental state. Like, oh, does he
Mhm.
not think I'm attractive anymore, or like, something like that? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, honey, it's not you, it's the
Yes.
meds, you know. So it's like, do you pick being happy, or do you pick making, you know, having a good sex life? You're
Yes.
like that, one of those two.
Yes.
You know, and as a guy, you're like, oh, I can last like 45 minutes. This is great. I'm like porn star status, you know. But like, as for women, that can mess with them mentally as well.
Yeah. It's
So
true.
it's something to take into consideration.
No, but that's like one of the real things that people don't talk about enough. That like I will
Yes.
have conversations with people on my couch and they'll be so dancing around the subject and I'm like, can we just be very candid about a very
Yeah.
natural human thing that
Yes.
most people in a relationship or some outside of a relationship will experience? Like all of the ways that medication affects you are important to talk about, and all of the ways
Yes.
that the conversations that you've had, like, I mean, thank God for the guy who talked to you and put it plainly, because there are
Yes,
people who
yeah.
have been battling suicidality for years that maybe that would have unlocked something for them, you know?
Yeah,
Make it
yeah.
plain.
I
Show
don't
the
know.
results.
I don't know if that would have been the same response for like a poly couple, though. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you handle that situation?
Yeah,
You know,
like, oh, they're
so
cared
it's not
for.
the same response. Yeah, like, oh yeah, I want that. You
Yeah.
know, it'd be
We're
a
good.
little different story than mine, right?
Mhm.
You know, but it really. But what that guy, he was an experienced person,
Mhm.
and I think he could read a room very well.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to pick him out today,
Mhm.
to be honest with you. If he came up to me and told me his name, I wouldn't know who he was. I
Right.
was so out of it. Um, but yeah, no, I think to that, you know, if things get rough or if I go into a dark place, that's like the one thing I,
Mhm.
you know, definitely keep in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, let's sit back for a second. Let's go back to that 5 foot world and like
Mhm.
let's think about this for a second, you know. So
Yeah.
sorry, Twitch chat, that got a little dark there for you, by the way. I know we went from like one extreme to another, and I've been talking for a very long time,
You're good.
and I need some water.
Yeah, go for it. No, that's the point. And you know, heavy disclaimers here. I've got warnings all over. So we're not doing any kind of censored conversation.
And also, thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing.
I
Yes.
realized talking about it really helps too.
Mhm.
You
How
know,
bizarre. How
that was
interesting.
yeah. You know, definitely talking about it really did help. One, but it going back to like, do you talk to a female therapist or do you talk to a
Mhm.
male therapist? It's really what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Personally, some men do feel more comfortable talking to women.
Mhm.
I will tell you firsthand experience. My wife and I, we were in marriage counseling shortly after my deployment to Iraq, and the marriage counselor sided more with me than my wife
Mhm.
because the marriage counselor was also a military spouse. So
Mm.
she had a hard time relating to my wife in trying to understand where my wife was coming from. And from a husband perspective, I was like, okay, this isn't going to work out. Let's try a different approach,
Mhm.
you know? But like, I could have easily been like, well, you know, the therapist said we need to do this and you should listen to the therapist. That's
Yeah.
not always the case.
Yeah.
Your other people's feelings are very important and valid too.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think that a key like a key component to the what you shared was your battle buddies. How, you know, one was like, oh, he can come and sleep it off and all that stuff. But I think a big one was the one that was like, this isn't him. This isn't him and he needs help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that goes back to like the community and the people that are around you and people who understand like the red flags and who know who you are and who you're not. Also, I love that Touchpad has some furry visitors to check in.
Yes.
They always
Yes.
have to stay around me. So I was like trying to not be dismissive or anything, or like walk away from camera, but I could hear you guys all the time. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
no, you're
go
good.
outside. And it's like, hey, come over here.
Yeah.
You're totally good. No, I just think it's really illuminating what you shared, and I think even on top of men's mental health, I think like military health is also, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But I think so many people will say, you know, thank you for your service, but we don't often think about the details of what you experience when you're serving. So seriously, thank you for being so transparent in what you've experienced and just like giving us some more insight to that world, because most of us live very privileged lives and can't even imagine what that might be.
A lot of, a lot of people think that like, I just this for everyone's kind of chatter perspective too. A lot of people look at like military, oh, you're gunslinging, you're gun ho, and you're shooting people down. The first half of what I mentioned, I did not fire a single round. I was not in a firefight. It was all what I witnessed with my eyes.
Yeah.
And that's what I suffered from. Is not being able to do anything while I was there.
Yeah.
PTSD comes in many different forms. I'm sure Touchpad can tell you he's had nightmares of ticket machines fucking going off, because I've had that happen too in the restaurant style.
I've had night terrors and I've screamed it in the middle of the night, like calling out orders.
Yes.
Oh.
It's like, hey, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm late to work, and I immediately jump into my pants. I'm like, you haven't worked in 3 years. I'm like, oh crap. Okay, well,
You're right.
No, but that wasn't me being a combative soldier. That was me being a humanitarian soldier, and that's what I witnessed.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, because like I got called all different kinds of names when I've tried to speak out about this. Like, oh, you're just some kind of baby killer, and it's like, what?
Right.
The
No, opposite we've learned today, that you're a baby deliverer.
Yeah. Definitely was a wild ride for sure. So, and definitely a learning experience. Definitely being my own advocate for mental health though, after what that medic said to me in the hospital. And when I feel like I can't, being a stay-at-home dad, I definitely had a negative mental mindset of like, I'm no longer the male provider, I'm not working, like what do I do? I did seek out some mental help, and they asked like, hey, would you prefer a male therapist or a female therapist? I said male. And I spoke to people and made sure I was good. And one of my my homework from mental health my therapist was to actually have lunch dates with my wife, like once a week, even if it was just like fast food, like getting out of the house and spending time with her, and it was in a parking lot eating like a Wendy's burger or something like that. And that really helped me a lot, because I was just the stay-at-home dad that just stayed at home.
Right.
And that just was so hard on me mentally too.
I love hearing what really worked and what helped you, because I think that that's like the disparity that we're seeing is there's recognition that we're kind of, we've got our hands tied. We don't necessarily know what to do when somebody is struggling. I want to circle back to the very beginning, to the top of the session, when Touchpad, you were sharing that you had a large role in being able to help your grandfather like start to recognize, or your dad recognize like, oh, I actually have feelings and I should also probably talk to somebody about this. So being a man who is outside of the mental health profession but has helped people realize, specifically men, like, hey, how do I actually recognize and, navigate this kind of stuff? Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what that looked like and how that went as we kind of finish up our session? Like, how do we learn from that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing was like, what warning signs are happening? So understanding his past, obviously, I would hope so. I was a son. I came from his balls.
Yep.
Literally. So like, I understand him, right? And
Yes.
a lot of my strengths were being quiet and observing. Like that's been something that I've always been good at.
Mm-hmm.
Always like break things down, engineer's kind of mind of like, okay, how does this function? How does this work? Even when it comes to personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
So in understanding how my dad grew up, being a military brat, and like how he processed things and the era in which he grew up, I was seeing those signs without him noticing them.
Mm.
He was demonstrating those signs. And I was like, okay, can I poke at this a little bit without being abrasive or like trying to just direct into that angle?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like little things like, hey, dad, like, how was work today? And like just letting him actually talk about his day, just
Mm.
any kind of miscellaneous mundane thing. If I could find like a quiet moment where he was tinkering in the garage, I would like go work with him, kind of like the shooting pool scenario, right? Or going bowling. It's like, hey, like, can I just tinker with you? Like, can I learn something about this? And then in those moments of quiet, he would bring up things from the past from him. I was like letting him just have the space where it was his son that he could talk to and not his wife. And so that's like what kind of helped teeter towards that.
Okay.
And then once he got like more opening about it, more talking, more used to like hanging out with his son and demonstrating how he grew up and some of those things, that's when I started like picking a little bit more. I was like, how are you feeling today? Like what is your actual mood today? Like
Mm.
what is making you feel this way? Like what's causing these things to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Did like there were so many nights where he would for some reason his pattern is to lay down on the floor and enjoy his vodka while he watches TV. He's a
Okay.
complete night owl. So like I would get out from my room after playing World of Warcraft and I would just sit there and watch Doctor Who with him. Like just let him
Nice.
have time. And because those stories were showing on the screen and be like, hey dad, like didn't you kind of deal with something like this? And he was like,
Mm.
crap, I think I did. And like it started opening up those doors, right?
Yeah.
Of being able to communicate those things. And the first big break for him was surprisingly when he was a little sloshed.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like he was outside, he was by his Jeep. My sister was having this crazy party, and I just sat on the brick wall with him, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you know you can cry, right?" I'm getting teary. I think about this scenario again.
Yeah.
I was like, "What? Like, how? You're my son. You're not supposed to be the one telling me this kind of stuff."
Yeah.
And it was like trying to break that mold, trying to
Mm.
break what was supposed to work, what was you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be doing as this model, like as this person. You are a man, you are from the military, like military bred at least.
Yeah.
You've seen this stuff, you've done these things, you're doing a good job. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want you to know you're doing a good job. But
Yeah.
also it's okay to be not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just starting to unravel that and
Yeah.
like going through that healing process. And that's something he did not feel comfortable talking to my mother, his wife. I always refer to his wife because
Mm-hmm.
separation of who she was and who she became.
Sure.
Um, and that's what really helped him unfold.
Mm. Yeah. So it was like little by little, it was the small erosion of the wall that I feel society is kind of like built around us. And that goes back to everybody in my chat will laugh, but I always harp on reps. We need repetition because of the ways that our brains function and learn and automate messages and things like that. So no, I think it's so good to hear the commonalities that I'm seeing is like, okay, we want some sort of like our primary thing that we're doing. So it's nice when we have some sort of like decoy topic, decoy subject, decoy focus. That helps to kind of like put people at ease. I think about it, and this sounds so demeaning, but I swear that it's not meant to. Um, I think about play therapy with children, how we access their inner working by playing and by like, okay, like let's build this thing and let's talk about a picture. And like you said, like likening his experience to what was happening on Doctor Who, like, oh, like let's make a connection, let's bridge the gap. A lot of it is connecting those dots that aren't necessarily connected. And also, like, I find the salient point was when you finally were like, hey, like, let me get all of this down, but like, also, you're doing a good job. Like, I think at the end of the day, that is a message that men need to hear more. And, you know, I recognize in my own marriage, like Mr. Sperry does so much for us, and I am a words of affirmation person. And I, even if I say how much I appreciate him to everybody, like I'm so grateful that he lets me into these moments when I don't do well because that's the only way I can improve. is he'll say like, I've noticed that you've been bragging about me a lot, and like I really appreciate that. I love that. But I want you to know, like, you haven't really said it to me. Like, you haven't talked to me in a while. Like, you've talked about me quite a bit. And I'm like, thank you for letting me in, because as much as it sucks to hear that I'm not necessarily like doing a great job, like I want to look my husband in the eyes and tell him like, I'm so grateful for you. Like, you do so much for us, and like you won't hear it from anyone but me, you know? Like, who else is going to be like, "Hey bro, great husbanding. You're doing a
Hey,
great job."
good job, big dog. Give him a smack in the ass.
Yes, exactly. Hey, big dog.
Exactly.
Way to keep her happy, brother.
Big dog.
Good job.
But like, I think that it's so critical. So I really appreciate you sharing way more about that experience, and I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to help, you know, the other men in your family and the other men in your communities, in bridging the gap and getting over the stigma and things like that. Miss Alley Cat in chat, I can see her talking about how much stigma there is around men's emotions. You know, hearing people say men need to always be stoic and never shed a tear. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's important to know that it's okay to cry. But for those men that aren't natural criers, it is okay if you don't. And I think that that's something I'm learning as a therapist working with men, is sometimes you can express emotion without having to. But like, I think that the thing is like, not my therapist says don't should yourself. So it doesn't, there is no expectation. The expectation is you learn to connect the dots
Process
within
things,
yourself,
right?
and process things. And yeah, for sure.
Just give him some eye drops and be like, there you go. You're replicating your crying. Like, that helps.
I think they have tear sticks in Hollywood where it's like a mentholy
That helps
type
makes
where
your
they
eyes
just
water. Yeah.
yeah, here, I got a tear
There you
stick
go.
for you.
Look, you're crying. Good job.
Yeah, I know. I can, yeah, I could go on and on about that. Any final thoughts before I ask the last couple of questions, because we are approaching our end time here, and I just want to make sure that I don't leave any stone unturned. This is a huge conversation. I think we can go on and on forever, but I have like 2 more questions for you guys before I finish that off. Do you have any final thoughts? No?
My
My
only
mind's going
final
a
thought.
million. My Go ahead.
I feel like there's like a theme of like to communicate, talk to somebody. But also kind of what we talked about earlier, it's like some people aren't safe to talk to. And like what Noob said, like, you know, for him, that female therapist wasn't the right person for him. And that's okay. Find somebody else. Find a male therapist. And if that male therapist isn't great, find a different
Find
one.
somebody else.
Um, and it's, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, there's no one to talk to. No one's going to listen. Um, you know, they feel alone. There's no one to talk to. I've tried talking to somebody and it was weaponized, or it was just ignored, or they tried too hard to relate to me and didn't actually listen to me, or whatever. Um, you know, find somebody. Eventually, you're gonna find somebody, and like, there's different ways you could do that. Either just, you know, trying to find a different therapist or whatever. For me, that's hard. I'm like, I don't know who to talk. Like, I don't even know where to start with finding a therapist. Um, but like, what do you like to do? Is it playing WoW? Is it playing disc golf or golf or board games? Do those things. You're gonna find other people that enjoy those things too, and from that, you're gonna make friends that, you know, one of them might be safe. One of them
Yeah.
might not be. You might try to talk to one of those people, and they might not be a good person to talk to. Your wife not be a good person to talk to about some of
Yeah.
these things. But like Touchpad said, like your son, you know, your brother, your dad, whatever. Like it can be anybody. Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And keep trying until you find somebody that is a good person, a good, safe person to talk to that can help.
Yeah. I think that it's very hard not
Yep.
to try to protect yourself. And so I'm so glad that you said that. You were going to say noob?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you know, this kind of leans towards the military side. Obviously, I have a bunch of military background. Besides 998, but like stackup.org is a great resource for help.
Can you
And
say that again? I'm going to put it in chat.
Stackup.org. They're all veteran. Yep, just like that. And regiment.gg. Those are great resources. I got my regiment flag back here representing. You know,
Ooh.
they are awesome people They're they'll point you in the right direction. They they know what they're doing. Stack ups raised, I think, close to like $60,000 for veteran suicide prevention last year. Regiment is kind of right there, right next to it. They have different resources for like VA disability, job placement, video gaming tournaments, things like that. They also provide veterans in need with gaming material, so you're not feeling left alone. So definitely shout out to those.
Thanks for that, because I'm always looking for resources. I
J
think,
22 is
yeah.
My
Thank
closing
you.
statement would be: it's okay to not be okay. There's no timer on healing. There's no requirement. There's no end date that you have to achieve this by. There's no deadline. And oh shoot, I haven't prepped this 3 times in my head. God damn it. Well, it's gone. There was something. Just insert important thing that matters to you as the
Yes.
final slot. There you go.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm you guys, naturally I was going to say what's the one thing that you would share with any men that are listening right now, but I think that you've pretty much encompassed that and put a bow on it. I can't thank you guys enough. As I said, as a woman in therapy, there are so many ways that I feel ill prepared to help men in mental health, and a lot of the comments that I've received lately on the men's mental health content that I've been putting out really just makes me feel sad. I think, not in a like, well, look at me, I'm the best at being sad for men, but like it really does suck that a lot of men feel so alone and feel very, I don't know, like villainized, I think, or just a stranger to their emotions. And my goal in having conversations like these are that we just help at least one less man feel that way and feel like they know where to go to. I'm huge on the Sparey Squad community. I love our Discord community. I talk very little there, to be honest. We've got channels specifically to ask me things, but there's also our Proceed with Compassion channel that I'm a big fan of, which is for hard to cover subjects, and it's for anybody to come and share frustrations or questions or just, other symptoms of being human. And there are many incredible people in our server community that some of them don't even play WoW. They just love people and love having conversations about this. And I know that both of these creators with me, I know TheNoobishDad and TouchpadWarrior, you're huge community-focused creators. So share, before we're done, where to find you and how to connect with you, and we'll finish this thing off.
Put it first. All right.
Hi. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is TouchpadWarrior. You can Google TouchpadWarrior at this point.
Yes.
It's a lot of places. That's not like a, oh, look at me.
Yes.
Oh, I found the thing. Comparison to Steve Happiness. There we go. That was the final
Yeah.
one. Yes. Deadass, you can't just Google it. It's a very unique name, so it's pretty easy to find. But Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, whatever you'd like. Not those lewd websites. I make jokes like, oh yeah, that's the other site. Doesn't exist. All right. But if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome to. My community space, we've always made sure to focus on mental health. I've tried to do that for many, many years. We even have a dedicated channel for mental health and venting, just as somebody needs to get something off their chest. But it doesn't necessarily want to be in like too public atmosphere, like where it's in chat, things like that. And there's a lot of very helpful people in our community that have all different walks of life and all different experiences. Like Noobish Dad's stories about the military. We have a lot of ex-military that have gone through very similar brackets, and it can be a lot to go through and process. So,
yes. Well, the Noobish Dad on everything. You can check out Noobs Inc. Guild in game. I have a community in game. Discord.gg/the Noobish Dad. TikTok, Twitch. I'm probably not as active on Twitch and TikTok. Like Sparey said, I am very community focused. Recently, I've been more community focused than content focused. So really just trying to just make everyone just a happy and feel safe place. Really just try to create that positive atmosphere. I love pushing myself. I love trying new things, playing different games. We have like community nights where we all play like Among Us or Rumble Party or scary games, and we laugh and make fun of someone getting scared in a game. So I was playing the back rooms last night and had to take my blood pressure medicine after that. So, you know.
Oh, man.
And then we can find Mr. Sparey at the Sparey household.
Yes.
That's what he is.
You'll only ever see me in Sparey's stuff. So as much as some of her chat was like, when's Mr. Sparey gonna start streaming? It's a never. But yeah, you'll see me in her streams.
I hope you enjoyed this Sparey session. If you'd like to join us live, follow me on Twitch and add to future conversations. Talk soon. Thanks again for all your support.